Hi everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Today we'll be talking about the powerful potential of paper, note investing with a self-directed IRA. I'm Keith Blazik, your host from Equity Trust, and I'm happy you're joining us today. So let's quickly run through what we'll cover today. We'll start with a quick overview of self-directed retirement accounts. Then we'll have a brief discussion about promissory notes before wrapping up with 4 case studies of note investments Equity Trust clients have completed with their retirement accounts. So now that you know what we'll be covering today, let's touch on what we won't be doing. Equity Trust Company is a passive custodian, and I nor Equity Trust provide tax, legal, or investment advice. This webinar is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice. We recommend you consult with your tax attorney or financial professional and perform your own due diligence before making any investment or financial decisions. So you learned in the disclaimer that we're a passive custodian and won't be providing any advice. But who is Equity Trust? What do we do? Well, we're an industry-leading self-directed retirement plan custodian headquartered outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Over the last 35 years, we've served clients from all 50 states as the custodian of retirement accounts with the flexibility to invest in alternative assets like real estate, notes, private equity, precious metals, and more. While we specialize in alternative asset custody, we also support traditional investments like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and ETFs as well. We maintain a client-centric approach. We realize it's your retirement. At Equity Trust, you have the investment freedom to get there how you want. We provide 7 different tax advantage accounts for individuals, business owners, and financial institutions that can be used to save and invest for retirement, healthcare, or education needs. For individuals, we offer traditional and Roth IRAs, health savings accounts, and Coverdell education savings accounts. For business owners, we offer the SEP IRA, the Simple IRA, and the Solo 401k. The main difference with these plans are the higher contribution limits and potentially larger deductions for those who qualify. At this point, a common question we get is, how are our accounts different from an IRA, HSA, or other account somewhere else? In reality, the account itself, regardless of which of the 7 we're referring to, is the same. The laws, the rules, the contribution limits, the eligibility requirements, etc., for, say, a Roth IRA or an HSA at Equity Trust are the same as if you held one of those accounts elsewhere. The main difference, however, is that accounts at Equity Trust have the freedom and the flexibility to invest in alternative assets and traditional assets. The term self-directed is simply an industry term to differentiate the increased investment flexibility and our role as a passive custodian. Sometimes someone will ask me, Keith, can I buy and sell real estate with my Roth IRA like I can with my traditional IRA? And the answer is yes. As we move into the case studies, keep in mind that it's possible to invest in both traditional and alternative assets, like notes, which we'll review it a little bit today, with any of the 7 accounts that we have listed here. I know that was just a quick rundown because we don't have time to get into the specifics of each account and the different tax advantages or eligibility requirements for each. But feel free to give us a call or schedule a consultation to talk to a senior account executive if you have questions. You can also send us an email to webinars@trustetc.com. We have a lot of different education, so if there's something you're interested or something you'd like to learn more about or an account that you want to determine if it's something that you're eligible for, just send us an email and we may have some materials to help explain the concepts. So as I give you a second to write this down, I also want to mention it's possible to have more than one of the account types I listed, assuming you're eligible for each account. We have clients who have multiple, whether they're both traditional and Roths, HSAs, CISAs, and small business plans, really maximizing the tax-advantaged accounts and saving opportunities that we have available. So even if you have an IRA already, or if you're already a client of Equity Trust, give us a call or reach out to us if you're interested in exploring additional options. So let's dive into the topic of our presentation today, promissory notes. So what is a promissory note? Put simply, a promissory note is a financial document containing a written promise to repay a specified sum borrowed, as well as the terms of repayment, any collateral, etc. It might help to think of it like an IOU, but obviously promissory notes are a little more serious and they have more detail than simply telling your friend, I owe you. A promissory note is a kind of catch-all term, but they can be used in a variety of ways. If you own your own home, you may be familiar with promissory notes because they coincide with mortgage note or deed of trust. Generally, in this example, the promissory note is secured by or evidenced by the mortgage note, which may serve as collateral for the promissory note. So you can see how they, work in conjunction with one another. But promissory notes are used beyond just mortgage notes. For example, they can also be used for private loans, financing, or corporate debt as well. So there are two general ways investors classify promissory notes. There are performing notes, which generally means the borrower is making payments on the loan. They're regular, they're on schedule, that note is performing. And then the other category is non-performing notes. Now, this is the opposite, which typically means the borrower isn't making payments, and investors choose different reasons, and some are more attractive to different people, but those are two of the main classifications in the note space. So now that we have a general overview of the concept of promissory notes, let's dive into some case studies. This one comes from a client in Minnesota named Joe. But first, I want to share another disclaimer. The case studies we review today are for educational purposes only. The numbers and the results are not indicative of how all note investments work. All investing involves risk, including a possible loss of principal, so it's important to educate yourself, perform your due diligence, and consult with a trusted advisor or a financial professional before making any investment decisions. So back to the case study with Joe. Joe's Roth IRA purchased a performing note on a single-family residence in Ocala, Florida. You can see it pictured on the slide with some of the details. The note for this double-wide trailer and the land had a market value of $42,000 when his IRA purchased the property. There was a little over $31,000 left on the note when Joe's Roth IRA purchased it, and the terms were 10% interest with monthly payments of $318. When his IRA bought this note, there were 203 monthly payments remaining, which breaks out to right over 16 years. Now, Joe's Roth IRA purchased this note for $24,425, which you can see he was able to purchase at a discount using his Roth IRA. So as you can see by our animation, the borrower is paying $318 in principal and interest payments every month back to Joe's Roth IRA on this investment. We're using a mailbox to showcase the passive income, but in practice, the checks are made payable to Joe's Roth IRA and sent to Equity Trust with a deposit coupon, so it can be returned to his IRA. Now, Joe's able to track all this around the clock from his computer, smartphone, or tablet using our online account management system, My Equity. So what does this mean for Joe's IRA? Well, following the amortization schedule laid out in the promissory note, if all 203 monthly payments of $318 are completed, Joe's IRA will receive a total of $64,554 at the maturity date. And let's remember, his Roth IRA purchased the note for just over $24,000. So that's a potential profit of just over $40,000 on this investment over roughly 16 years, which breaks out to right around a yield of 14.19%. And let's not forget the best part. Since Joe used his Roth IRA, these profits, those monthly principal and interest payments, or if he eventually sells the note, those returned back to his Roth IRA tax-free. So hopefully you're starting to see why we chose the title that we did, The Powerful Potential of Paper. So here's another case study from an equity trust client named Bob from North Carolina. You can see the details on the screen. Bob's IRA purchased a discounted note for a little over $27,000. The performing note with a value of $90,000, and the borrower still owed a little over $30,000 left. The terms were 9% interest for a monthly payment of $375. And when his IRA purchased the note, there were 129 payments remaining with the investment yield of right around 12%. So as we go back to our mailbox graphic, you can see Bob's IRA will be receiving monthly principal and interest payments of $375, 129 more times, which would break out to a total of $48,375 over the next 10 plus years. And remember, his IRA paid just over $27,000 for the note. And if the note is paid in full, Bob's IRA would profit a little over $21,000 for about a 12% yield. And once again, that's all tax deferred to his IRA because he used a traditional IRA. But at the point of on those payments coming in, or if he sells the note, there aren't capital gains tax and it won't hit his taxable income because all income flows directly back to his traditional IRA tax deferred. So to put that into perspective, let's assume Bob didn't use his IRA and is at a 20% effective tax rate. That's just over $4,000 in taxes that Bob deferred by using his IRA. Like the case studies we just reviewed, many people are familiar with the investment potential of mortgage notes, mainly because if you own your own home, you're used to paying your principal and interest payments each month. So you can kind of understand, the investment side of it and the profiting of the payments, the timely payments. But there are other promissory note investment opportunities beyond mortgage notes that we're going to touch on quickly. The two categories would be private loans and corporate debt. So Matt is another client from Pennsylvania who shared this case study with us several years ago. I like it because it's a good example of an investor realizing his IRA could fill a need in the market where he lives. It all started when Matt saw an ad in the classified section of his local paper. Now Matt, he had previously opened a self-directed IRA at Equity Trust with the goal of investing in real estate. But when he saw this local car dealership looking for financing to repave their parking lot, he realized, he looked at it and said, this might be an investment opportunity as well. He knew he could do more with his IRA than just real estate, and realized, he might be able to provide the financing. So Matt met with the dealership's owner. He worked out a private loan for his IRA to provide the financing that they were seeking through a promissory note. And after this first loan was repaid, Matt kind of started to build and establish the relationship with the dealership's owner. And through that, they realized, there were additional opportunities. And what's fascinating is what this has led to. It started an investment approach that Matt has continued to this day. He began using his IRA to provide floor plan financing to that first dealership that he initially financed their parking lot before expanding it to other non-franchise local dealerships in his area. On an example of one of his, floor plan financing arrangements, Matt structured the promissory note so that instead of receiving principal payments back on the loan, his IRA would receive 10% annual interest plus a $250 title exchange fee each time a car is sold on the lot. As you can see in the example of one of these one-year loans, Matt's IRA provided a $15,000 loan for the year, and it was secured by the car titles of the inventory acquired with his loan. So his IRA would provide that $15,000. The dealership would then use that money to go and acquire, used cars that they'd like to sell, and then would secure those titles to the promissory note. His IRA was receiving 10% interest on the year, for a total of $1,500 that year. And the dealer sold 22 cars. And as we mentioned, each time the car sold, if it was financed from his IRA, then they would pay him a $250 title exchange fee. So 22 cars, that then ended up working out to $5,500 in title exchange fees. And all told, Matt's IRA received $7,000 tax deferred on this $15,000 loan. And like we mentioned earlier, that is deferring capital gains tax. It's not hitting his taxable income because it's going directly back to his traditional IRA. And in talking to him, and when he was sharing this case study, Matt just talked about how there are a lot of different small businesses that are looking for financing. And while he admits his approach is unique, it's not, the things that most people think of real estate or mortgage notes or things of that nature. He's comfortable with the dealers he's working with. He's got a system in place, and it seems to be kind of working out for him. So it just kind of shows the creativity and the potential once investors realize that with the self-directed IRA at Equity Trust, they have a lot increased investment flexibility and options, then they're empowered to go and when an opportunity may present itself, know that they can use their IRA to make that investment. And I want to close with one final case study to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. This is the story of an Equity Trust client from Tennessee named Don. Don has been a client of Equity Trust for more than 16 years, and his wife is a realtor, and she opened a SEP IRA. As a refresher, a SEP IRA is one of those small business plans with higher contribution limits that we talked about earlier, and because she was a realtor and ran her own business, she qualified for that plan. And over the last 16 years, Don and his wife have been active with their accounts. They primarily were investing in real estate and notes, but when I talked to Don, he really, talked about how he spent a lot of time learning this, that he would block out hours a day to study and learn until he felt comfortable directing his retirement funds the right way. And I think that's an important thing to share because Don has done well, and we'll kind of get into some of the more details later, but it really started with him realizing that there was an opportunity here and then seeking out and taking action and doing the things that it would take until he felt comfortable to be able to direct his retirement the way that he thought might have more potential. So on one of the investments, he and his wife partnered their accounts on a recent investment. Together, they purchased an office condo with their IRAs because they knew of an associate who needed a location to start their commercial real estate business. And after their IRAs purchased the property, Don eventually leased the 62% that his IRA owned back to the company owner as a triple net lease. Don's wife, the 38% that her SEP IRA owned, sold that back to the same company owner as a carryback mortgage. Together, their accounts received between $2,000 and $3,000 each month tax deferred on that investment. And since both Don and his wife are past age 59 and a half, they're able to distribute funds from their accounts to use in retirement. This is kind of painting the picture of the end game and what this can look like when you have these investments working during your retirement years as well. Using our online account management system, My Equity, Don and his wife are able to log on to see the checks have been deposited and then request a distribution sent to their mailbox in the next few days. And during our interview, Don shared something that made me laugh. He said people often ask him what he does in retirement, and he often jokes back, well, I try to just go to my mailbox. And while that's somewhat said in jest, this is reality for Don and his wife. They've leveraged the powerful potential of notes and other alternative investments over the last 16 years and to create passive income that they can use in retirement. But even more powerful is how their IRA investments have supported their income in retirement as well, while leaving the potential to leave a legacy to his family. Don said that his goal has been to live off the income and earnings from his investments while preserving the principal amount to leave to his grandkids. So those principal and interest note payments or rental income or whatever the case may be, or just the cash that's accumulated over the years of investing, that's what Don is distributing from his account to then use in retirement. But the principal balance of his account, once he turned 59 and a half, he's been kind of tracking that to see if he could keep it where it is, because he wants to be able to leave it to his grandkids and pass on a legacy of tax-advantaged wealth, which is really, really a powerful concept when you think about the potential of some of these things. And an update he shared about that plan, he said, so far so good, which was great to hear, and just the approach and his mindset about it was really refreshing. But let's take it a step further. Obviously, saving enough, managing your portfolio to provide a comfortable and an enjoyable retirement is a wonderful goal that we should all strive toward. But money is often just a means to an end. Having retirement funds available, but not enjoying your retirement years and doing what you love seems to be missing the point. I want you to think about this. What are you really saving toward for your retirement? Why would you like to have funds available? What types of things would you like to do, or how do you envision your retirement? That's kind of the goal to kind of hold in the back of your head to hopefully motivate you to educate yourself and take action on some of these things. So what has Don's IRA investments really meant for him and his family? Well, after not playing saxophone for over 20 years, Don dusted off his favorite instrument and got back to doing what he loves. 10 years ago, Don started a jazz and R&B band with 14 other local volunteer musicians in his area. In addition to jamming out, doing what they love, Don's band also serves another one of his passions, helping the next generation. His band plays for the exclusive benefit of charities, either by volunteering to play at charity events for free or sending the proceeds of corporate events where they get paid to perform, but sending those proceeds and having them write the check to two charities in his area that support disadvantaged children. And Don talks about how that was one of his passions, was trying to lift up or help out people who may need it, especially those in the next generation. So it was something that was important to him. And when we were talking about this, and even when we talked about his case study, Don was really quick to deflect praise and kept talking about, it was funny because he didn't even want to talk about his investments or any of the details or how it happened. He was really more interested in talking about this end result that we're sharing, the freedom that he has in retirement, the ability to start this band and live out his passion, and also he really wanted to talk about the work that his band and all the other volunteers that he collaborates with and the impact that they've been able to have with charities and different things of that nature. And he mentioned too that it really is just a blessing to work with so many people and to be able to give back through music, which is another thing that he loves. But he also shared a thought that I'd like to close with. Don said that if it wasn't for his IRA, he would never have had the time or the freedom to start his band and make the impact that they had. The amount of time, he said, that it takes to schedule the events and coordinate all that stuff, it just wouldn't be sustainable had he not been, be able to be retired and comfortably living off the income and things from his investments. Self-directed investing isn't for everyone, but at Equity Trust, our mission is to provide the education, the service, and the support to allow investors like you or like Don to invest in what they know best. At Equity Trust, you have the freedom to make your own retirement decisions and the flexibility to not be limited to certain investment types. At the end of the day, it's your retirement. We just hand you the keys and let you drive the retirement decisions to get to where you'd like to get to in a way that you'd like to. So I want to thank all of you once again for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Hope you walked away with a new understanding of the opportunity self-directed investors have today. Please give us a call. schedule a consultation to talk to a senior account executive. You can see the number on our screen. You can see the link to schedule a consultation or send in some questions. And we'd be happy to answer your questions about the 7 tax advantage accounts we offer and some of the exciting developments that we're working on constantly. So at this point, I just want to wrap up with, you can send us your questions or feedback about the webinar, or if you have any specific requests for additional information, send it to webinars@trustetc.com. We have a lot of different education, a lot of materials that if there's something in particular you're looking for, you have a question about, or you'd like more information on, send us an email or give us a call. Chances are there's some type of material, or we have somebody here who maybe has seen a client do something similar, and we can kind of share that knowledge that we've accumulated over the last 35 years with you, and we'd be happy to do that. So finally, I just want to thank you once again for joining us. Send us an email, give us a call, and thanks for taking the time.